Hello everybody, it's the FPS tester here, and today we're going to be benchmarking the GTX 1650 GDDR6 edition of the graphics card, which does make a difference, by the way, compared to the GDDR5 version of the graphics card. And we're going to be pairing this up with the Intel Core i7-4790K, which is an ancient CPU at this point. It's pretty much 10 years old, with 16 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM. That's right, inside of Call of Duty Warzone, pretty much Season 3. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the game and see what performance we can get. Also, I am using the latest Nvidia drivers, which is why this is up here. So yeah, let's jump into Call of Duty. So to get us started here, we're playing at 1080p, and these are my settings here for the display settings. In the quality options, I'm using the minimum preset, which is the lowest it can go to. I'm going to manually set that back up to 100% resolution scale because it's set to 50% at default. We're not using any upscaling or anything yet. Maybe we'll try it later, but everything else is set to pretty much the lowest, as you can see. Now I have variable rate shading turned on as well, which can help with performance for a slight visual decrease in quality, but it's not much, and does increase your FPS a little bit. So those are the settings. Let's jump into a match. So we're going to be playing Resurgence mode because it's more fun than the Battle Royale game mode for me personally. And also, it makes it easier for me to benchmark because the Battle Royale, if I get killed at any point, which can happen, I know, it's incredible to believe, I can get killed and it takes forever to get back into a match because matchmaking in Call of Duty is, let's just say it rhymes with choo choo. That's right. Let's get into a game. We'll go with quads. Should have just called it squads. Just kidding, guys. All right. And now we're gonna basically wait for Call of Duty's amazing matchmaking to take 5 minutes. Sorry, guys. Don't mean to be so toxic, but God, they could honestly at least make the matchmaking in this game take a little bit less time. Come on. If their servers aren't going down, the matchmaking can't find a match. And in true Call of Duty fashion, I've just got into the game, jumped down here. We're inside this place. As you can see, we're at about 60 FPS here, 1080p low, which, you know, as much as I want to rip on the game, this is actually pretty good performance here, in all honesty. It's not bad. I mean, the game does look, you know, like it's on low settings. Oh god, all of my settings are on different hotkeys because I'm on a different computer. Even though I don't play this game much, I still have custom hotkeys that I'm used to when I come here and benchmark. Can anybody explain this random jittering that I'm getting right now? Does anybody know what that is? Can somebody please tell me what that is? In true Call of Duty fashion, the game is not working properly. I mean, what a shock that is, guys, that the Call of Duty is not working right today. I actually spent 2 hours yesterday trying to benchmark this game with this GPU, and I just gave up. Honestly, by the end, I just gave up because there was so many issues that I was having, so I just stopped. And but I've returned here today, and we're actually able to benchmark. And 60 FPS, 1080p, lowest settings with no resolution scaling is actually pretty respectable here for the 1650. For such a budget end GPU, you can come into Call of Duty and have a pretty decent time probably. Now, it is true that that it's not exactly competitive FPS, in my opinion. If you play at 60 Hertz, this will be more than fine for you, for sure. If you are somebody who's a bit more competitive, you want to see at least like 90 to 100 FPS in Call of Duty Warzone, for sure. But, you know, or even like 140 at least. 120 is probably, or 100 FPS roughly is probably at the minimum you want to be at to be somewhat more competitive, right? But why is my gun not shooting? I literally held my gun for so long and it just didn't shoot. There's a second guy. Ah, no. Why does self-revive even exist? But yeah, you can see here, I'm not sure what our FPS dropped down to there inside of that fight. I think it dropped below 60, but I could be wrong. But it's pretty decent FPS. Now, the CPU usage is quite high, but that's to be expected. And I actually think the CPU is doing a pretty good job here, considering how old it is. Like, it's actually able to play this game, you know, at 60 FPS. It's pretty crazy that this CPU is still able to push these frames in a game like this, in my opinion at least. And our RAM usage is just a little bit over 12 gigs right now. I'm pretty firing. Oh my god. There's a guy at the bottom of the stairs. But yeah, our RAM usage is just a little bit over 12 gigs here in Warzone 3, so 16 gig system is still going to be enough to play Warzone. Definitely the 8 gig systems are pretty much like gone at this point in most games. You can't play most games anymore. Even older ones that are still getting actively updated are using more than 8 gigs usually. And even a lot of the games that I personally play, like survival kind of games, they need more than 16 gigs because they literally consume like 20 gigs, a lot of them. So yeah, you need at least 16 gigs these days for sure. And we are pretty much always GPU bound here at around 60 FPS. This CPU is keeping up pretty well. So if you're a casual player, you want to play some COD, this GPU can do it without any resolution scaling, and even with such an old CPU as well. It's kind of crazy, to be honest. So I'm not going to test 1440p with native 1440p at least, because as you can see, if we're getting 60 FPS here, then it's not going to be a good experience at 1440p. But what we will do is first, we're actually going to test this CPU a little bit more. We're going to turn on some resolution scaling. So now we're going to try out 1080p, still using the lowest preset in the game at 100% resolution scale, but we're using AMD FSR3 at quality preset. So we're not going to turn frame generation on. By the way, if you're wondering about frame generation, it's not worth it. It literally, you still feel the same delay. Like it technically increases your FPS, but your input delay is still the exact same. So it's literally pointless, guys. So don't use frame generation in Call of Duty. It's not worth it. We're not going to benchmark it here today. But as you can see here, using the FSR at ultra quality, I can't really see too much of a difference in terms of visual quality. I don't think it looks that much worse, at least not close up, but certainly, you know, if you were trying to shoot at somebody really far away, it might not look so good. But yeah, we're getting around 70 FPS here. So we went from around 60 to around 70 FPS. So that's a pretty significant jump in the average FPS just by using FSR at ultra quality, or the highest setting for FSR essentially, right? So it's a nice little jump. We are at 60s here, but maybe I was just in a little bit less intensive area. I'm trying to look for more guns because I've only got this one. But yeah, around 60 to 70, so not a terrible increase in FPS, but also not too drastic actually. It really depends where you are. But 70s, like getting 70 FPS with this GPU, it's kind of insane, right? Let's switch the FSR to the lowest it will go to for the most FPS, right? And we'll see if we actually end up CPU bound. All right, so I've gone ahead and switched the FSR to ultra performance, which is the lowest it will go to. So we'll see if we're going to be CPU bound. And yep, we are absolutely CPU bound here at around 70 to 80 FPS, depending on what we're doing. As you can see, the GPU usage is at around 90% right now. So yeah, you're not going to be able to get any higher FPS. We're actually fully GPU bound. Looking down there where the smoke is, yeah, we're fully GPU bound. I thought it was my teammate shooting from the window. We got him. You're dead, son. Oh god, I'm in a building full of people. Oh, I nearly closed the door. God damn it. I looked at my minimap and I just knew I was so dead. Here with the 1650, Call of Duty is playable at 1080p. You're not going to use FSR at this setting, obviously, but it is playable at 1080p. You can turn FSR on or the Nvidia equivalents to the ultra quality, and you'll see a little jump in FPS as you would expect. But I wouldn't use anything lower than ultra quality, you know, FSR or the highest setting FSR or Nvidia equivalent essentially at 1080p. I just wouldn't do it. But yeah, you'll see about 60 to 70 FPS on average with and without FSR, depending on where you are. But I'm not going to test 1440p here because it's not going to be a pleasant experience. And the only way to play 1440p on Call of Duty Warzone would be to set the FSR all the way like to the ultra quality, and at that point, why even bother playing at 1440p? You might as well just switch it to 1080p and use a higher quality FSR option. So yeah, I've been the FPS tester. Hopefully you found some value in this video, and until next time guys, take care, and bye bye for now.